old man. We're here. Here we are. I looked at old man and first tried to figure out once again what key is this
Okay.
in. With centered around D,
Hmm.
um, but felt like it was. It didn't feel like it was resolving itself to D.
Right. He uses a lot of chords. There's a lot of major chords in here, and none of them ever feels like they're the key.
Yeah.
So he's really created kind of a wow. I've never used this term before, but I'm going to make it up. It's almost like a multimodal song. It's in different modes at different times, and because right there, even this chord
Yeah.
is not in the key of D.
Right.
Because of what note do you have there that's bad here for D?
It's bad for D. Well, what I have is I have the open D. I've
Right?
got the B. Uh,
Yeah, but that's not B. What is that?
no, it's C.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
C.
You got a C, and then what else?
I've got a C, and then I've got an F.
Yeah. And so right there, those are two notes are not in the key of D,
Yeah.
right? And so what chord is that hinting at? With a D and an F and a C, disregarding the E that you're also playing.
Yeah. Disregarding the. Um, I haven't thought about this way. Um, C and F.
And D. If let's think about what kind of D chord might this be? Is where we're going, right?
Yeah. 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 It, well, the world that it came from, it could be a D minor.
Okay, so what makes it minor?
What makes it minor is the flatted third.
Yeah. So as soon as we realize we have an F in the chord, then we're starting to think we're in the D minor world.
Yeah.
Then we start looking at what else should be in D minor or what else do we have and how it. I mean, so right there, the D and the F kind of really put us on the path that this
Right.
is some kind of D minor.
Right. Right.
And now you have two other notes in here besides the D and the F.
Besides the D and the F, well, we have the C.
Okay, so what would that do to a D minor chord?
C. Well, that's all the way around the corner, so that's nine.
Not quite.
No.
It's not
C.
around the corner yet.
Way around seven.
Right, okay. So the C makes it D minor 7,
Right.
but now the E is what you just thought.
Yeah. Nine. Right.
Yeah. So if we had to, I mean, so really the best name for this chord would be D minor 9.
D minor nine. And that brings the seven in.
Right. So again, with the ninth chord, so to back up for 30 seconds, maybe 60, our triads are built in alternating notes, thirds.
Right.
Right? So we build our first triad is 1 3 5, and then we build bigger chords by stacking more thirds on top of them.
Top of it.
And
Right.
so the next step is a seventh chord that has 4 notes in it.
Yes.
And then the next step is a ninth chord. And then we can even get to an 11th and a 13th.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to 13, we've got all 7 notes of the scale in the same chord. Now, it's very difficult on a 6 string guitar to play 7 notes at a time. You might have to sing one or something, you know. And so all of these bigger chords, there's kind of rules that go in the chord world, and that is if you call it by one of those bigger names, 9, 11, or 13, you're supposed to have all the notes below it in it too, all the odd numbers. So, legally, a 13th chord is 1 3 5 7 9 11 and 13.
Right.
Now, and so most of those get reduced. You can leave certain things out. As a matter of fact, right now we're missing something. What is not in this chord that should
Uh,
be that should be here?
It should be there.
Yeah.
Um, well, if it's the seventh here, no, seventh is here.
That's it. That's at the seventh, the C.
Yeah, the seventh is the C, and this F is the ninth.
No,
Oop,
F is in a D chord. F is what?
oh, it's the third.
Right,
The third. It's the flatted third. Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's the flatted third. Um, and then the open E here, that's the ninth.
Right,
That's the ninth, right?
right,
So we don't have a fifth anywhere.
right. Okay. And the fifth is the first note you can leave out and not really alter or detract from the sound of the chord. And one of the main reasons for that is whether the chord is major or minor, the fifth is the same in those two chords.
Right.
So, unless the chord is diminished or augmented, where the fifth is altered, it can always be omitted, and it's your ear hears it anyway. Partly because of overtones. When you play a note, um, any note, you actually are hearing overtones of that note too, and the first overtone is a fifth, or you're not hearing it, but it's part of the sound that is produced. The vibrations of that note are within the note of that you played, the root.
Right.
So, and so really any chord other than even in a like when we play a normal C7 chord, we end up putting the B flat on the G string,
Right.
and that's the only place we had a G.
Right.
So that C7 chord that we just play all the time as C7 as guitar players doesn't have a fifth in it,
Okay.
and it's totally okay.
Okay.
So as we get into those bigger chords, seventh and past sevenths, the fifth can always be omitted, and it still is, the sound is perfect, is still good. But in the chords bigger, 9, 11, and 13, the most important note that you can't get rid of is the seventh, because that's what creates the sound, the dissonance, the dominant sound. I mean, we call those dominant chords
Yeah.
when they have a flatted seventh in them. And without that flatted seventh, it's just a major or a minor bass. It's not a dominant
Right.
sound. So that's even what the word dominant means. It means it's a tension-filled chord that wants to resolve someplace. Doesn't have to, but it wants to. And that's created by the flatted seventh. Um, so anything called dominant has a flat seven in it. Now, and if you put in a bigger note, meaning a 9 or 11 or a 13, that's the note you can't live without, is the seventh. So even a chord like a 13th that I just said should have seven notes in it, you can't, well, you can reduce it to four notes. And they would be the root, the third, because that determines whether it's major or minor, then the seventh, and then whatever the big number is, 13, 9, or 11.
Right.
If you can get any others, that's great. That's icing on the cake or gravy. But still, and if we play one of those bigger numbers without the seventh, that's when we use the word add. Add 9 means 1, 3, 5, 9. But if you call it 9, it's got to be 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9. Right? Okay, so this chord is totally legit as D minor ninth because it's got the four. It's just without a fifth, and it's a really interesting sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting sound.
Yeah,
And in this song, this is the part where he's palm muting the which is
coming along.
interesting to yeah. I'm trying it. I try it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's
Hey, that was good. Yeah.
fine line between um, muting it and killing it. So
Yeah, I probably mentioned this, but you got to really feel that the base of your hand is hitting like the bridge pins. You know, it's kind of like that's kind of like your target is, and then just enough of your hand, just a little piece of skin here should be lightly hitting the string. And so if you're not kind of feeling the bridge pins or at least the saddle,
yeah,
you're you can't be up here doing this. You know,
yeah,
it's you got to find the right spot on the saddle is what you're really trying to do is pounding on the saddle.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
There.
so
Yeah.
when you come back to here, you're no longer muting, or you are?
I don't remember if he is or not. I think I usually would play that with less mute, like it's a little brighter sounding. Yeah, I'm still muting it pretty much there. Yeah, so it's and all the muting is kind of done with action kind of like this
Yeah.
rather than just staying there and playing. So the degree of mute is kind of different on every note because you're restriking it every time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, okay, after that goes around 3 times there,
Yeah.
then it drops into well, I guess it goes around 4 times. When we're dropping into the fourth ending of this, um,
I think no, I think you know what? I think it's only the second. Oh, so you do it twice without singing,
yeah,
and then you do it twice with singing.
with singing.
Okay, so you're right. So there are 4 rounds of that.
Right, right.
The second one that you sing goes into the next little part.
Yeah, and the second year, okay, and then in that one, you're now you're the pattern here, which the progression here goes from the D. The pattern set up to basically um, hammer on the third the third note in every well, if third note in the D measure.
You know what? I think the melody that we're looking for. Did you download the tab that I put together for
I
this?
did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What I hear, but I could be making this up, is the fourth time he does this, he's singing, right? Oh, and when we get to this D part, the fourth time, let's call it the second time because so we're just in the vocal part. Okay, forget about the intro. So the second ending, the first ending, he just does the same thing he was doing in the intro, messing around with the sus4 and that stuff, right? Then the fourth one, he's singing, "Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like," and right now he starts the progression to the verse. You Okay, so he doesn't do that D. It's like he cut off 2 measures and jumped right into the next progression.
Oh, okay. Well, that solves the mystery.
Okay,
I was stacking it on top of that.
right. So you don't come out of one of these and then start this. Okay, you jump right into it.
Okay, okay. Well, oh, that makes so much more sense. Okay, yeah, okay. I should have been smart.
Now I hear the first hammer on the D chord on beat 2, not on beat 3. Now I could be, I might just have just made this up. In other words, when I did it here, I came down and went to this. So I did that hammer on beat 2, but he may do it on beat 3. That would be kind of a generic way of doing this, where you just do the hammer on beat 3 all the way through. But I think he has a little more elaborate melody that he plays in there, where I kind of hear this. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the tab that you have there, does it show the hammer on the third beat or the second beat?
Shows it on the third beat of the D measure.
Mm-hmm.
Shows it on the third of the F major seventh measure.
Okay.
Then it shows 2 hammer-ons, the second,
Yeah, on the C. Okay.
second and third of the C measure. But then the C measure carries over, and the G is on 3. No, the G is on the and of 3.
Yeah.
Can't quite get that, but anyway, I haven't been able to figure that out.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. Old man tab. Let me take a look at what I. Oh, got it. Okay, so you're looking at what amounts to being the fourth ending on the page,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, so that's absolutely right. That they're the important, like the highlights of that measure then are really just that on the first beat you hit the bass notes, the D, and a little bit of strumming, and then that hammer on does happen on the third beat, right? And then now do the second measure, the F major 7 measure.
Yeah. Oh, here. Yeah. Oh, that's no.
Yeah, look carefully. Listen to the melody I hear there is this without any extra strumming.
Yeah.
The highlights of that measure are this. Notice what note's on the second beat. It's not what you thought.
Oh, it's the open G.
Right. That's the melody in that measure. Everything else is just fluff,
Yeah.
you know. And then yeah, and then so everything else is just like little ups in there to kind of keep the motion going, right? Right. Okay, good. I'm glad.
Okay, then the C. Okay, so
Yeah. Now that last note in the measure is going to be an up. That the E on the second fret. Yeah, but so it's got to be quicker than that. Da da. Right. Because then we have another bunch of notes at the beginning of the next measure. So we really have like 5 eighth notes in a row there that I would consider all melody notes. Almost. One more time.
it's on at the beginning of that measure. So,
Yeah.
so
Right. And then the next important thing is the big bass notes on the G chord.
okay, and that's on the up of 3 though, isn't it?
No, see, it's a quarter note there.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So it's right on 3. So here, and you can watch this again later, obviously, if you want. Here is just the melody without any fluff. Oops, shoot. Start again. that's what you're trying to get come out. Now, looking at the next line, those two measures are the same. Move my cursor here. Yeah. So the only thing that's different in the second line is the C's a little bit different. It has less real melody notes in it, and of course it goes back to F rather than G,
Hmm.
right? And then that's those two lines there are virtually the same as the first two lines of the verse. Do pretty much that, except that the G is on time in the fourth measure. So when he's singing, he doesn't like stretch out the C into an extra half a measure, and everything is a little less. There's less melody going on, right? So when he's singing, oh man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. So it's a little more straightforward, consistent with just a bass note on the first beat and a hammer on if on the third beat usually, right?
Okay, so the fourth ending, which just starts with our D there in F major, that's the old man look at my life line.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So really, you don't really want to think of that fourth ending as an ending. That's the beginning of this section,
Right.
right?
Okay. Okay.
And so then the first two lines and even the third line of the verse are just like that. The second line, I mean, the first two lines follow that chord progression that we just did instrumentally. With just it's just not quite as elaborate or embellished.
Okay.
So when you're in the singing part, all you want to do is just keep the chords going. You don't really have to do anything specific except the hammer-ons on the third beat are kind of the vital element, right?
But for those four lines of verse,
Okay.
so old man look at my life, which begins in the what is that, the sixth measure, it looks like. The fourth ending or the beginning of the verse. Um,
Okay.
so those four lines continue on the next.
Yeah, so the two lines we're talking about, the second and third line of the page,
Yeah.
right, are really they're the introduction to the verse.
Okay.
So we basically had an intro to the intro,
Yeah.
and now we've got and those two lines are an intro to the verse. When I
Okay.
say an intro to the intro, we play that five measure phrase in the
Yeah.
beginning twice instrumentally.
Right.
Oh, you know what? Hang on, it's my daughter. It's my daughter. Hi, what's up? I do. Yes, somewhere. Oh, okay. It's the same end, same thing at both ends. Oh, okay. Probably is. I got all kinds of boxes of stuff like that. Weird. So, um, okay, I'll look around for one and track it down later. I'm in a lesson right now, so okay. See you. Bye. My daughter at school with a tech problem. I don't know if you could hear what she was. Well, she needs a cable that is USB, the same USB at both ends.
Oh,
Like a A to A one. And
right.
in the old days of printers, you had a different ending on the printer. But
Right.
so she said, hey, and she said her tech lady at her in her school district says they don't have any of those, but it's the only way she can get her computer to hook up to something. So I'm sure I have one of those, or I've got adapters that can piece them together.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, um,
Okay. I am still confused here. Um, the verse line, "Oh man, look at my life, 24, and there's so much more."
Right. That's that measure. Whatever. It's where it says verse, right, up in the upper left.
Okay.
That's where you start singing.
Okay, that is that line.
Right.
So lines that begin with measure six and measure 10 is what you just referred to as the two intro.
Right. Right. So that's those two lines are the intro to the verse. When I say intro to it, they're instrumental. There's no singing in that. But what he's doing is playing through the progression that is the first 8 measures of the verse.
Right.
So then the singing starts there in measure, what is that, 14, I guess? Yeah. Where it says verse, that's where the vocal starts. And there are 4 lines in the verse. The last line is on the other page.
On the other page, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. All right.
And now when we talk about those lines, those 4 lines, line 1 and line 3 are identical as far as the chord progression goes.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
F,
Yep.
C, G. Line 2 is different because it doesn't go to G at the end, it goes back to the F.
Right.
And then line 4 is different, completely different. It goes to C first,
Right.
right? And then ends on the G.
Yeah.
And then, oh, you know what I didn't point out? Where it says chorus. Okay, does that all make sense as far as the verse goes now?
Yep. It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, and at the end of the verse, the last the last measure has a cool little lead in to the D chord that starts the chorus. Right, the last line is the D. Now we're on the line 4, top of the second page, right? And he's got that quick little scale at the end of the D.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that leads you up to the D. Yeah, and then the chorus. Um, yeah, okay, so I guess there is no intro to the chorus. So the vocal starts right there where it says chorus. And the chorus is basically 3 lines long. Oh, wait, does it say 3x there or 2x at the bottom of the page?
Two.
Okay.
But there's the second line there, beginning with measure 34, repeats itself. Oh, 3x. Yeah, 3x. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, so I think what happens is I think the first line is instrumental. Yeah, so where it says chorus, there is no singing yet. He plays it once instrumentally. He comes out of that. And then there are 3 lines of singing over that. That's why I've got the 3x on that repeat sign at the end.
Right.
So where it says chorus, that line is instrumental. And then the singing kicks in the last line, and he sings 3 lines.
Yeah.
Old man, take a look at my life. Right, so we come out of this. And now he sings, old man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me to hold. Oh, that's the... Good, I got that thing. I wanna look in my eyes and you can tell it's true. Oh, I think the first time he comes out of that, he goes back to the intro to the verse.
Yeah. And at the end of the 3 repeated chorus lines there, I hear in my head down there in the last measure. So you did a walk up, but I hear
Yeah.
in my head, I hear a
Oh,
kind of a ramp up, almost a slide or something in there.
You know what? I think what happens. We'll listen to that in just a second. Because as I was playing it, it seems to me that when he finishes the third one, one look in my eyes, you can tell it's true. He kind of brings it down a little bit and doesn't do the hammer onto the G like that. I think he probably just stays on the E minor. And I think what you're hearing is, I think the first time so the E minor 7 chord always happens on beat 4, right? The A minor 7 to E minor 7 is a syncopated change. And in the instrumental part of this, the D has like little embellishments up here, adding on the sus4 or something like that. That doesn't happen when he's singing. That's why I wrote a line differently. So in the vocal line, I think he does the hammer on here. Old man, take a look at my life, and doesn't have that other stuff that happened in the line before.
Yeah.
But lot like you, and you get to the E minor 7 on beat 4, and then the only other important thing that happens in that fourth measure is the hammer on from the E to G on beat 3.
Okay.
But I think the last time when he's going back to another verse, he probably doesn't put that G thing in there. He probably just hits the E minor 7 and lets it kind of die out. One look in my eyes, you can tell that's true. And I think when he finishes the first chorus, he goes back to the instrumental or the intro to the verse. And when he finishes the second one, he goes back to the intro to the intro.
Okay.
Because the intro, he ends with the intro again too. And then he sings the opening line again. Oh man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you. And I forget how he ends it, but he ends it just kind of like abruptly, like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 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 Now that makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That change. I'm not moving quickly enough from. Need to be moving to get to here.
Yeah, and at the end of the measure, let me get back to that. Notice that the last up of the measure is written as 2 open notes.
Yeah, it's open notes. Yeah.
You got to let go of the D chord a little sooner.
Yeah.
And then you got to kind of build the F chord. All you need on when you hit that first bass note is the F.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't even want to put your second finger down because you're going to hammer it on from open.
Oh yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I do have it written as down, that you've got it down on that little up that happens in there. Yeah. So, but regardless, plant your fingers with that bass note first.
Yeah.
Which natural tendency when you put down that F chord is to build it from your first finger first, which is, we need to do the opposite.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. That's what I'll think about it. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Yeah.
And no hammer on there, just let that open G ring. On beat 2, then a hammer on. Right. So see, that's the melody you need to hear there. Da, 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 da. Right. That's what we're trying to hear there. There's a real quick up there. That's really fast.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. But then, okay, then we're still in C. This is that timing at the end of that measure was
Right. We have two more beats of C.
okay. There it's
Yeah, listen to that whole two measures of C. Again, with just the highlights, we'd have this. So I didn't put in any of the bigger strokes,
right.
but so all those melody notes, we basically have seven melody notes in the first measure of C.
Right.
Treating the first one as it's a quarter, and then the two hammer-ons, and then the two eighth notes at the end. And then in the second, in the next measure, that strum that is on beat one, we really hear that G as a melody note. So if I was playing just the melody in the fourth measure there, the measure that's half C and half G, I'd hear these three notes as melody notes on the C chord, from starting from the open G. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on beat three, we hear the big crash on the G chord.
Okay. So
Yeah, except play more notes on that G chord, like strum a little bit more of it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or even all six strings would be good there.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to remember to put that finger back on. Leave it on. Leave it on. You need it. You're gonna need it again. Yeah, big strum there though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hearing it and feeling it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Actually, that's okay.
Yeah, it's really cool, huh? I mean, it's
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay.
so. Last little thing about it. Um, when he opened up this song with this, I mean, talking about well, he opened it up on a D minor chord, right? Using the F, having an F rather than an F sharp. Then he kind of changes modes into D major by going to a D major chord with the F sharp. And then he immediately incorporates both of those sounds in the verse by going from a D chord to an F chord. I mean, the F chord is like from the wrong place.
Yeah.
As far as um, and and then he follows that with a C chord, which also kind of increases the weirdness that these are chords not in the key of D, but in the key of D minor. Because
Yeah.
if we were in the key of D minor, we would have both a C chord and an F chord.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happening. He's kind of um, uh, changing modes, essentially, or using stuff from both modes together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, he finally lands on the G chord is kind of when he finally gets back to a chord that's in the key of D now,
Right.
right? And I'm not sure how far I went into this in any other discussion, but if we were in the key of D and using normal chords, D, G, and A, and maybe B minor or something like that,
Yep.
it would be very common, and especially from people like Neil Young or James Taylor or something, to use a C chord in there as well. And the reason and that's not in the key, but we've talked about secondary dominant chords, right? Which are when you use five of something else in the key.
Yeah.
When you use C in the key of D, it's kind of related to chord four, because chord four would be G,
Hmm.
and if we were in G, C would be chord four.
Right.
So this opens the door to something that could be called, I've never heard anybody else say this, but I'm sure I'm not making this up. Well, I hope somebody else figured this out. But we can think of that as a secondary 4 chord, a secondary subdominant. It's 4 of 4.
Right.
Okay. And so usually when you see when you see that chord in a song, which some people just think of as a flatted 7th chord, you're playing a major chord on the flat 7 note, right?
Okay.
But the reason it works musically is because it's 4 of 4. And it usually goes to 4 the same way a secondary dominant usually goes to whatever it's 5 of.
Right. Okay.
And this is even, then we look at the F chord, and it's 4 of C.
Right.
So we're almost looking at a string of secondary subdominant chords here
Yeah.
that are really expanding the circle of chords and make it for a really interesting sound in a chord progression.
Yeah.
As we started working on your ear training and we messed with Keep On Trying and a few other songs like that, we ran into some songs that had like secondary dominance and a few other things like that, but your ear has kind of gotten to a point now where you're able to recognize way more stuff than you were like a year ago, when you hear it. And this is a pretty like kind of advanced hearing thing, is to hear that you're in the key of D and it goes to an F chord. It's like, that's weird. But now like what that sounds like, and you might hear this in another song now too,
Yeah.
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 But then the other thing that I was always impressed with in this song is that it never made sense that the last time around he goes to the C first and then the G, or he goes to the, anyway, he changes the order of the chords, and goes to the C before the F.
Yeah.
And I think when I probably figured this song out when it was brand new back in 1972 when I was like 16, I might not have got that. I might just assume that they were all the same.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that I played this wrong for a year or two before it dawned on me. It's like, oh man, the last line's not the same. What the heck is that?
Yeah, you're writing it down. So when Neil Young was writing the song in 1972 or whatever it was he thinking in those terms?
No.
Was he trained? No, he was all sound. It was all
Yeah.
sounds like this is what I'm trying to achieve here.
Yeah. And he had already experimented with very complicated songs. There's one on his first album called "Here We Are in the Years." Write that down if you don't recognize that title. Go listen to that song. "Here We Are in the Years," and then I even have a lesson on it because it's showing incredible complexity to its chord progressions for somebody who was 21 years old or something. And some of it is he just randomly changes keys or uses chords that shouldn't work together. Stuff like this. Now here's one that pops into my head. Moody Blues tune, right? Tuesday First of all, it's weird that it lands on D. Everything it's all in F and A minor. It starts off with a lot of A minor, and then it goes to F, and then it uses chords out of the key of F, C, B flat, A minor, and then lands on D. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's wrong. Then it does it again. It doesn't matter to me chasing the clouds away. Now it gets even weirder. Goes to A flat, then C. Back to the A flat. It's like this. It's just all over the place, and it's like you can't figure out where it's going to land. He's kind of destroying the sound of the key that he's been in, and then uses that A flat to land in G. But this G part is G, F, and C. Anyway, Neil Young's early album. This is from his very first album that had kind of the rainbow picture of him.
Yeah.
has a ton of songs like that are just, they're way more complicated even than Old Man in terms of the chord progression. And so you should listen to some of those. If you're not too familiar with that album,
Okay.
uh,
I
uh,
will, I will look at them. Okay, I got
yeah,
that and I got Clancy, and I got, look, I'm just getting started on this.
yeah,
Oh man. Um, I'm gonna miss next week,
okay.
uh, camping trip in Solvang, so I know that,
Oh yeah, you mentioned that a while ago, I think. Or
yeah, what are your things? So,
yeah,
um, anyway, 2 weeks is good, but
okay,
just,
okay.
so, all right.
Yeah, and this is fun. I really enjoy exploring Neil Young, more Neil Young stuff. Because this was
Yeah,
huge influences on me. When I was young, and I'm even now trying to. He just put out a new album called Barn, and I'm listening to it a little bit. It hasn't grabbed me yet, but
yeah.
and also found another man stumbled into